Hi everyone, welcome back to this video. In this particular video, we're going to take a look at how to configure remote management using SSH rather than using Telnet. Actually, be able to use SSH as well. I can keep Telnet as is, but also use SSH. It's a choice that I have. So that's what the whole lab is all about. I'm going to base it on the previous setup that we've done in the previous lab, basically looking like this, where you have my local LAN over here, with the admin PC having access to the inside IP address, admin PC having access to the inside IP address over here on the LAN, and the two routers can talk to each other over the WAN. So what I want to do is I want to set up SSH so that my transmission from my admin PC to my device is done in a secure manner. What are the different things that I need to do to set up SSH? Let's go ahead and take a look at in this particular lab. So as I said, the main thing about the lab, just configuring SSH for remote management, which requires a username password. Let's take a look at the requirements for SSH. Number one, in order to do SSH between a PC and admin PC or between a router and another router, you need to generate a key. What is a key? Key is the component that allows you the ability to encrypt the transmission between your admin PC towards your router. But in order to generate this encryption key, what I need is the encryption key requires the router to have a fully qualified domain name, which is basically, if you remember in the introduction videos, I talked about the host name, the host having a host name. In addition to that, the company has a domain name, and combined, you get the full name for the device, also known as a fully qualified domain name, which is hostname.domain name. Although the router has a host name set by default, it does not have a domain name. So in order to generate a key for encryption, the first requirement is that you set up a host name. So when you go to generate the key, you have the ability or have the complete fully qualified domain name for the device. So we'll do that. So my steps in order to configure SSH, to have SSH up and running, so I have a more secure management setup. Step number one, obviously your IP configuration, IP reachability. Number two, set your host name. Set your domain name. Host name is there. Even if you don't set it, the default host name is router. You need to set up a domain name because there is no domain name by default. This is required to set up your fully qualified domain name. The command for that is IP domain -name and followed by the name of your domain, let's say abc.com. Now once you do that, you generate your encryption key. This is the key that will be used for encrypting your transmission from the router to the admin PC. This is done by using a command called crypto key generate RSA followed by the size of the key. Now, the bigger the size that you set, more secure it is, but at the same time, it takes more time to encrypt and decrypt. So once these three things are done, you're now set up for SSH. By default, it'll set up SSH version 1.9. Now, once that is set up, I now need to enable my VTY lines for SSH. So again, I would go onto my line VTY. Number one, over there, I will set up my transport as SSH. But if you just say transport SSH, it will disable Telnet. So if you want to maintain Telnet, you need to mention Telnet as well, because whatever command that you put in will override the previous command. So keep that in mind when you're doing this command. Besides that, you need to do your username password, because SSH requires a username and password, which I've done already. So that would have been done for, if it's not done, you need to create that local username password database, and then log in local, which I have also done. So I don't need to do that over here. So the username password and login local generally you need to do, but if I've already done that, I don't need to redo it over here. So that's what I want to do over here. I want to maintain telnet, but I want to add SSH to my configuration so that the user, not the user, the admin can now either remotely manage the device using telnet or SSH. All right, that's the objective of this particular video. So this is what, once the key is generated, SSH can be now enabled under the VT5 ports. So this is a lab that I want to do. We're going to use as authentication database from the previous lab. So I have the username password as admin1 with the password admin1, admin2 with the password of admin2. We'll create a domain name called abc.com on both routers, generate an encryption key. We'll use a key size of 1024, and then we'll enable SSH and telnet for the VT5 lines. Now, normally I would also need to do the login local, but because I've done it, I don't need to do it again. Let's go ahead and set this up now on your routers. Let's start with router 1. En is Cisco 111. I'm in privilege exec mode. Jump into global config by typing in the config t command. I'll start by defining my domain name as abc.com. Once I define my domain name, I'll generate my key. The command for that is crypto key generate RSA, and the size. Modulus is the word, the command for setting the size up. I'm going to set the size at 1024. Once I set it up, it enables it. My SSH gets enabled, but although it's enabled on the router itself, because I have an encryption key right now, I still need to enable it as a protocol for remote management under my line VTY. I already have my username, so again, I can always do show run include username. It'll show me the two users that I have, admin1 and admin2. If I had not done that prior to this, I would need to create my local accounts database. SSH does require you to have a username password. SSH does not work with solely a common password. It requires you to have a username password. So I have that over here. The local database is created. Once it's created, once the keys are generated, all I got to do now is go into my line VTY 0 space 4, transport input. If I just do SSH, it would have disabled telnet. If I want to maintain telnet, just put that in as well. Now it's saying enable remote management using SSH as well as telnet. All right. Normally, I would also do login local. I don't need to do it over here because it's done. It doesn't harm by doing it so that you guys see what are the commands that I need to do to set it up. Now, that's all I need to do to enable SSH to work on the router so you can remotely connect into the router for management. Same exact console, same everything. The only thing is the actual transmission, the packets that are going between the devices, that's the admin PC and the router, will all be encrypted. I'll do the same exact thing on router 2. Go in first. The password is Cisco 111. That's the enable password. Config T, IP domain -name, abc.com. Generate the key, crypto key, generate RSA. And the modulus is, we'll keep it the same modulus. Let it generate it. Now that's done. Let's check my usernames. Again, you can do show run and let it go through, or you can say pipe include username. What this does is it will show me only the running config commands that have the word username in it. So it's like a search. So it shows you that I have admin1 and admin2 in my running config with their corresponding passwords. My local database is set up. Line VTY, those are my terminal lines for remote management. Transport input SSH and telnet. If you don't want telnet, just say transport input SSH. And normally I would need to do login local. I don't need to do it over here because I had done that already for my telnet authentication. So once this is done, now I can jump onto my client. This is router. This client, by the way, is this guy over here. This PC, the one that is connecting to router 1. So let's go back in over here. Open up my PuTTY. Now this time around, I'm going to go to the same IP, 192.168.1.1, which is the IP address of router 1. But rather than saying telnet, I'm going to use SSH. That's the only difference. Click open. It says, hey, this is the key for the for the device that you want to connect in. That's the key that was created by that crypto key generate command that I did. 1024 was the size of the key. I'll say yes, I accept it. Once I accept it, it says login as, I'll say admin1, and the password is also admin1, and I'm in. And at this point on, from this point on, it is exactly the same way that I configured my normal stuff through Telnet. So show IP interface brief, it is as if I'm sitting on router 1's console. Similarly, I'll do the same thing for the other PC, which is PC2, which is connected to router 2. So again, the IP address for router 2 is 192.168.2.2. It is SSH, which is the default protocol for PuTTY. Click open. Again, accept the key. Login as admin1. Password is also admin1. I'm in. Onto router 2. Key in. Again, that is how you do SSH. Now, it's a little different from when you do it from a router to a router, because this is when I went from the client, the PC, the admin PC in there. But let's say I was on router 1 and I wanted to get into router 2. SSH in, not do telnet. In your privilege exec mode, the command is SSH-L. L stands for login. And you specify your username. The username is admin1. And the device that I want to telnet or SSH into is 12.2. So what I'm basically saying, I want to SSH into 12.2 as admin1. So now it's going to prompt me for the password, which is admin1, and I'm in. So this is how you use the SSH client on a router. So if you want to SSH in from one router to the other, SSH-L for login, the username that you're logging in as, and the IP address that you want to get into, and you put the password in. All right, I showed you how to do it from a PC using a PuTTY program, or you can use it. You can also use SSH on a router to router type of communication. So if I'm sitting on a router and I want to manage another router, I don't need to go to my PC to do it. I can do it directly from the router. The verification commands I put them over here as well. I just showed you the command that you need to do from the router to router setup. For the PC, it was graphical, so you can take a look at the video in terms of how I did it. So SSH into router 2 from router 1. So I was on router 1, SSH-L admin1, which is the username, to 192.168.12.2. -L is for the username. This is the destination IP address that I want to telnet into. It should prompt you for a password for admin1. We typed it in. You get put into the greater than sign, just like you did for telnet. Type in enable. It'll prompt you for a password for connecting into your privilege exec mode. Just like telnet, SSH also mandates that you do have an enable password. If you did not have an enable password, it would not let you go into privilege exec mode. All right. Now, once you're in, you can manage the device as if you're directly connected through the console. 99% of your configurations are done through remote management, whether it's through telnet or SSH. That doesn't matter, but most of the configurations on your routers are done through remote management. In today's day and age, because of security and ion security, SSH is more of a prominent protocol. Initially, though, it was all telnet, but now they have more and more people are moving over to SSH for remote management. Hope you guys enjoyed it. This actually concludes the remote management session over here for telnet and SSH. Hope you guys enjoyed it. The next section, we'll be taking a look at the routing portion. Very, very important subject coming up. Guys, enjoy it. Take care.